Part 10. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 91. The big house of the Gao family was noisy. A group of people were noisy, crying, and even smashing things. Director Su did not take Xiaopinggan to the living room to join in the fun. Instead, he bypassed the living room of the mansion and went upstairs. Walked through a long corridor, and came directly to the outside of the conference room on the second floor of the Gao family's main house. This is the crime scene. Nothing inside has been touched. Well, the scene inside is a bit bloody. It's best to be mentally prepared. Director Su also reminded. Talk about blood to a summoner who has dealt with the demon eye? I'm afraid Director Su has never seen the sacrifice of the devil's eye with his own eyes. Besides, Xiaopinggan has already seen the so-called blood. Xiaopinggan thought secretly. The conference room of the Gao family is very interestingly designed. The conference room is located in the middle of the mansion on the second floor. The entire conference room has no windows that can be seen from the outside. The only wall with a window in the conference room is towards the patio inside the mansion. Direction, so it cannot be eavesdropped by outsiders. As soon as he entered the conference hall, he could see Mu Qingchen sitting in a wheelchair by the window, his eyes staring, his face frightened, his heart was pierced with a sharp weapon, and he was covered in blood. The window behind Mu Qingchen had been shattered, and glass was scattered on the floor of the conference room. The conference hall was very bloody, with 7 bodies lying in the conference hall. In the conference hall, there was a large conference table, and the corpses were scattered throughout the conference room, but none of them strayed too far from the conference table. Director Su said it was bloody, but it was actually a bit bloody. 7 men died and their blood dried up. 30 or 40 kilograms of blood were spread on the floor of the entire conference room. On one of the walls of the conference room, there was a pattern of a devil's eye painted with blood, which made people feel chilly in their hearts. This scene is not pleasant. This person is Mu Qingchen, the son-in-law of the Gao family. Mu Qingchen is a famous summoner in Yizhou province. He was injured and recuperating at home. There was no sign of Mu Qingchen fighting with anyone in the conference room. He was close to the window. The murderer broke in through the window. He should have been the first to be killed. He was stabbed in the heart and penetrated directly. The murderer was very agile and must have been a professional veteran. Director Su pointed at Mu Qingchen's body. Xiaopinggan and Guo Wei introduced. Mu Qingchen was killed before he could use summoner. He should have been the first to die. Judging from the wounds, the murderer used a very sharp sword, which was fatal with one blow. Guo Wei knelt down and took a look. Mu Qingchen then carefully looked at the large piece of broken glass and windows with traces of cobwebs on the ground. The glass used in this conference room is bulletproof glass. The murderer can break in through the window. His strength is very terrifying. Yes, we have tested and found that the bulletproof glass in the conference room was not shattered by robbery or explosives, but by a brute force from the outside. The murderer climbed down from the balcony on the 4th floor and came from the outside. It could be a martial arts master who broke in through the window. Director Su said with some lingering fear. Guo Wei stood up, walked around the pools of blood on the ground, came to the main seat of the conference room, and checked the body on the ground. There was also a man lying on the ground there. He was in his 60s, with big ears, delicate skin, black hair, and an official air. He was also stabbed in the heart, and then he fell to the ground. This person is Gao Peng, the Speaker of the Yizhou Provincial Assembly. I've seen it on TV and in the media before. I didn't expect him to die like this. Xiaopinggan also walked over, looked at the body on the ground, and deliberately sighed. Returning to the scene, Xiaopinggan's heart didn't waver at all. If he was asked to choose again, he would still take action without hesitation. The people in this room are all a bunch of damn trash. Many times, Reality is so ironic that a group of low-class people get together and actually become the upper class. Well, this person is Gao Peng, the core figure of the Gao family. The man on the ground over there is Gao Ju, Gao Peng's brother and the second in command of the Gao family. Gao Ju is mainly responsible for the business and management of the Gao family. The man on the ground next to him is Gao Ju. This is Gao Tianlin, the eldest son of Gao Ji, the deputy director of the Xinquan City Mining Bureau. This is Gao Tianxi, the eldest son of Gao Peng, the main leader of the Gao family's mining industry. This is Gao Tianxiang, Gao Peng's second son, the city's Xinquan City Commerce and Trade Bureau. The director of the department, this is Lu Qirong, the son-in-law of Gao Ji's daughter, and one of the people in charge of the Gao family's industry. Director Su introduced the identities of the deceased. The arrangement of the Gao family is quite interesting. One of Gao Peng and Gao Ji is in politics and the other is in business. Gao Peng's eldest son is in charge of the Gao family's mining industry, while Gao Ji's eldest son is making rapid progress in the political arena. They support each other and share resources. This is a classic routine of a wealthy family. Ah! Guo Wei said softly. Ahem, Mr. Xia, do you think there is a special smell here? Is it the work of a member of Devil's Eye? After walking around the conference room, Director Su saw that Xia Pingan didn't talk much and just walked around. I walked around and took the initiative to ask. This kind of case is beyond the reach of ordinary people. Director Su actually doesn't want to take over the investigation. Who knows how many forces and things are involved? If it involves members of the Devil's Eye or summoners, then Director Su you can step aside openly and leave the matter to more professional people to handle it, so as not to panic yourself. A family like the Gao family had been wiped out. He, the chief of the Xinquan City Police Department, was no more noble or powerful than the Gao family in this conference room, so he naturally felt a little scared. There is no magic aura released by divine power in the conference room. It is impossible to determine whether this case is related to the Eye of the Devil or other summoners, Xia Pingan said, speaking very rigorously. Director Su was a little disappointed in his heart, but he didn't show it on his face. Instead, he asked doubtfully, Mr. What means? Xia Pingan pointed to the big table in the conference room. If it was done by a member of the Devil's Eye, then there is more than just a mark on the wall in the conference room. As long as the member of the Devil's Eye is given 10 minutes, the 7 corpses in the room will be decomposed into pieces, and everyone's heads will be cut off, like food, and sacrificed by the eyes of the devil on the conference table, and become a platter of corpses would make the scene even more bloody, and it might be difficult for other people in this mansion to survive. Director Su's face turned slightly pale after listening to Xia Pingan's words, and he swallowed quietly. So there is no supernatural involvement in this case? Guo Wei asked. Yes, I judge that the pattern of the Devil's Eye was deliberately left by the murderer. It may be a warning, and more likely it is to create suspicion and direct the subsequent investigation towards the members of the Devil's Eye. And the summoner's direction to guide. The pattern of the Devil's Eye was a suit within a suit left by Xia Pingan. There was no magic aura at the scene, but it left such traces that the Order Committee would not take over the investigation as long as they sent someone to take a look. If someone really follows this clue to pursue it, they will be led astray. What Xia Pingan said just now is just the first layer of truth left by the Devil's Eye pattern. If you follow this truth, all summoners will be excluded from the murderer. If the pursuer goes astray from the first truth and discovers that there is supernatural intervention later, it may really be the work of the Devil's Eye, then the pursuer must think about the consequences of this, and what it will do to everyone. They are all real threats. Director Su, since there is no magic aura or other supernatural powers involved here, and it is just an ordinary homicide criminal case, the city police department will be responsible for investigating this case, Guo Wei said directly to Director Su. He and Xia Pingan came here. We're not here to solve the case, We're just here to confirm whether the Military Control Commission needs to send a summoner to take over." Director Su was a little dumbfounded. Seeing that the reinforcements that had just arrived were about to leave, and then looking at the devil's eye pattern on the wall and the blood all over the room, he couldn't help but become a little anxious, and directly stopped Xiaopinggan and Guo Wei. In front of him, his face was full of smiles. "This case is too difficult. The identities of the people killed are not ordinary, and the impact is too bad. The police station at the Military Control Commission also needs to give an explanation. Mr. Xia, can you please see if there are any other clues here to track down the murderer, or any hidden magic aura? Please, just do me a favor." Xiaopinggan had a look of embarrassment on his face and pondered for a moment. "I actually have a secret method here that can restore what happened in this room to a certain extent. It may help Director Su find the murderer and clues, but..." When Director Su heard this, he was shocked for a moment, and then overjoyed. He didn't expect that Xiaopinggan could really help, but he really couldn't think of any secret method that could restore the situation in the room at that time. If there was such a secret method, it would be too counterintuitive. Oh my god! Not only Director Su, but also Guo Wei looked at Xiaopinggan with a strange look. It had been a night since the murder case, and Xiaopinggan was still able to restore the situation at the crime scene to a certain extent. Guo Wei had never heard of this secret method and couldn't help but become curious. "Does Mr. Xia have any difficulty in using the secret technique?" Director Su asked after seeing that Xiaopinggan did not continue. "To be honest, I have been fighting invading monsters in recent days. Today I used the Requiem banner to requiem the souls of the sacrificed warriors. It consumed a lot of my divine power. At the same time, I still have hidden injuries on my body." The secret mandala was a little shaken. "I used that the secret method is a bit difficult." Xiaopingyan spread his hands and said helplessly. Golden Summoner. Author, Zyu. Chapter 92. Having difficulty in casting a secret technique does not mean that you are completely unable to cast it. Director Su keenly grasped the hidden meaning in Xiaopingyan's words. This case is so difficult, Director Su will naturally not let the hope of seeing it disappear under his eyes. As soon as Xiaopingyan finished speaking, he quickly asked, "I wonder how Mr. As long as it can help solve the case, we should try our best. As long as these two conditions are met, I can use the secret method again. One condition is to wait a few months. During these months, keep everything in this room as it is. Everything in the room, including the corpses, don't move it, wait until my power and injuries recover, and the mandala is stabilized, and if there are no other changes, I can use the secret method." "How many months?" "If we really have to wait a few months, the corpses in this house will probably be infested with maggots. Not only that the police station cannot do this, even the Gao family will not agree to let these corpses stay here for several months. Moreover, who knows where Xiaopingyan will be in a few months? Will he have another mission, or will he be injured or not have enough power? Legion priests are not idlers with nothing to do. This condition is obviously impossible." Director Su was so anxious that he almost got angry, but Xiaopingyan's identity was here, and he didn't dare to get angry at Xiaopingyan. "Well, what's the second condition?" Director Su asked carefully. "The second condition is very simple. If there are one or two divine power world beads or other world beads, after fusion, I can increase some divine power and stabilize the mandala, so I can use the secret method." "Boundary beads? Ah, do you need one or two boundary beads?" Director Su confirmed. Xiaopingyan nodded. "Well, the success rate of fusion with one world bead may not be high, and the divine power provided may not be enough. 2 world beads are more reliable, and 3 world beads are definitely feasible." Director Su was dumbfounded. He really didn't have this thing, at least he couldn't get it out now. That thing was a luxury item worth tens of thousands to ordinary people, and many people might have never seen it. However, just because he didn't, it doesn't mean that the Gao family didn't. Director Su thought of a solution in the blink of an eye. Well, with the boundary pearl, can we find the real murderer? Director Su wanted to make one final confirmation. I didn't say that the real culprit can be found with the boundary pearl. My secret method can only restore to a certain extent the details of some of what happened in the house at that time. Whether or not the real culprit can be found is only a matter of opinion. It depends on the details. The murderer left so many clues here. There is no secret method in this world that can guarantee that the real murderer will be found. I know it's impossible for Director Su to take out the boundary pearl, so I just said casually, forget it, there's really nothing I can do. Xia Ping'an said, and walked out the door. Wait. Director Su quickly stopped Xia Ping'an and wiped the sweat from his head. Mr. Xia, please wait here for a moment and give me 20 minutes to think about it. Method. 20 minutes. Yes, 20 minutes. In 20 minutes, if I don't take out the boundary pearl, Mr. Xia won't be too late to leave. Just rest here for a while, Director Su said with a smile on his face. Okay, then I'll wait for Director Su for 20 minutes. Director Su asked a few more detailed questions and then left in a hurry. In the living room on the first floor of the Gao family's mansion, even the police who came to investigate the case stood helplessly, watching a bunch of women from the Gao family arguing and crying in the big house. The descendants of the Gao family who had been left without a master due to the great changes in the past suddenly lost all their family ties when they were fighting over the family property, and they were suddenly on the same page. The reason for the quarrel was simply because Gao Tianxi's wife He Miwen said that the Gao family's coal company cannot be left unattended, and suggested that her eldest brother He Sichen should replace Gao Tianxi as chairman of the mining company. These words were like a spark in the gasoline warehouse. As soon as they were said, Gao Tianlin and Gao Tianxiang's wives immediately jumped up and objected. Why can your eldest brother take over as the chairman of the mining company? I also have brothers and relatives in my family, and people from my natal family can do it too. Several daughters-in-law of the Gao family started to fight and started to quarrel. Just when several daughters-in-law of the Gao family were quarreling, Gao Xian and Gao Yu, two daughters of Gao Zi, expressed their opinion that the property of the Gao family should now be managed by those surnamed Gao. As soon as they said this, it also aroused unanimous opposition from all the daughters-in-law of the Gao family. Then the family started to quarrel, and even several junior members of the Gao family joined the battlefield. Gao Peng's first wife passed away 2 years ago, and Gao Ji's wife is also bedridden and has been in a nursing home. Therefore, at this time, no elders in the Gao family can suppress the already quarrelsome descendants of the Gao family. Director Su had just come downstairs and came to the door of the living room. An expensive crystal glass crashed at his feet. The shiny glass shards scattered on the expensive marble floor. Some of the glass shards directly splashed onto Su. On the director's shiny leather shoes. Director Su walked to the living room and saw Gao Xian standing in the living room, his face turned pale with anger, pointing at Gao Tianxi's wife and her cousin-in-law He Miwen and cursing in an awe-inspiring manner. Now that my father and brother have just been away, do you, the He family, want to divide the property of our Gao family? Who doesn't know what your eldest brother He Sichen is? When he was asked to manage a hotel, he was able to manage it. A profitable hotel has lost tens of millions a year and divorced several female employees, so we are just feeding the dogs, and you, the He family, all think that the Gao family is a fool. Gao Xian looks like his father Gao Ji, with a square face. He is not very beautiful, but he has the aura of a bossy wealthy daughter, but he can control it very well. He Miwen is a woman in her 40s who looks like a lady. She has a pretty face, her hair is tied up, and she is dressed in luxury goods. She is wiping her tears while retorting sharply. She is not easy to offend, it's such an ugly thing to say. Isn't my son from the Gao family? Doesn't he have the blood of the Gao family? What you just said is right. The Gao family's property will naturally be inherited by those surnamed Gao. But Gao Xian, you are already married. Your son and daughter are all surnamed Lu and not Gao. What qualifications do you have to say this here? My brother can't manage a business. Could it be that those fitness coaches and the ones you and your sister have found? Just a pretty boy. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 93. You bitch, what are you talking about? Without the Gao family, you wouldn't be where you are today, and none of you he family members would be good. The two sisters, Gao Xian and Gao Yu, became angry and almost went crazy with anger. No matter how mean I am, I have never done anything wrong to my man. It's just that no one knows about the trivial affairs between you two sisters. That's why Lu Qirong and Mu Qingchen are still pretending to be confused, thinking that no one else knows. How long will it take to let them go? 100 years ago, both of you sisters were arrested and imprisoned in pig cages. After saying this, chaos broke out in the living room again, and Gao Xian tried to hit He Miwen with something again, but was stopped by He Miwen's eldest son. Even the policemen who were taking notes looked at each other and ate silently beside them. This wealthy family has no dignity to hide, and the bad things they do are simply unsightly. The Gao family seemed to be in harmony when Gao Pengjiaji and the two were there. Director Su had also visited the Gao family before. Unexpectedly, when something happened to the Gao family and the man left, the woman below would become like this. Director Su sighed in his heart, and finally coughed twice and walked into the living room. Chief. Several policemen in the living room saw Su Zhen walking into the living room, and they quickly cheered up. The women who were arguing calmed down a little when they saw Director Su coming in. Everyone, I have something I want to discuss with you at the moment. Why don't you let the children go back to their rooms to rest first? Director Su said. Director Su was still somewhat dignified in front of the women of the Gao family. When the women heard what Director Su said, they seemed to feel that it was not good for their children to get involved in these matters, so they all sent their children back to their rooms. Director Su also asked a few police officers to go out first. After the atmosphere in the living room relaxed a bit, several women sat aside angrily and turned their heads to ignore each other. Then Director Su told the purpose of his visit in the living room. The women in the Gao family were also shocked when they heard this. Director Su, you said that the Legion priest of the 87th Legion said there was a secret method to know what happened in the conference room and find the murderer, Gao Xian asked immediately. It's not that we can find the murderer. The secret method can restore some of the details of what happened in this house at that time. It will help us find the murderer and clues. It will be helpful in solving the case. If you still have the boundary bead at home, you can take it out and let others know. Give it a try. Director Su explained. What secret technique is so powerful? Asked a daughter-in-law of the Gao family. I don't know about that, and I'm not a summoner. What's the name of the Legion priest of the 87th Legion? Gao Yu asked directly. Call Xiaoping'an. A group of women from the Gao family got weird looks on their faces when they heard the name. Gao Yu stood up immediately with an angry look on his face. Xiaoping'an, Director Su, are you not mistaken? He actually dares to come to the Gao family. What, do you know each other? Director Su looked confused. My husband Mu Qingchen's leg was broken by Xiaoping'an. Gao Yu said loudly, with an angry look on his face. The name Xiaoping'an is no stranger to the Gao family these days. What's going on? The more you talk about it, the more confused I become. Director Su was really shocked. Mu Qingchen's leg was actually broken by Xiaoping'an. He really didn't know about this. As soon as several women from the Gao family explained, Director Su understood. It turned out that he was injured in a public competition in the arena of the Order Committee. No wonder the Gao family was able to suffer the loss of being dumb and did not publicize it. With the energy of the Gao family, if they could have some sense, I'm afraid things would have turned upside down long ago. Xiaoping's current identity is the Legion priest of the 87th Legion, and he is a summoner sent by the Military Control Commission to assist in investigating murder cases. Since you don't want him to continue looking for clues, then forget it. Director Su stood up and didn't bother to pay attention anymore. Since the Gao family members were not cooperating, he was even more unwilling to be caught in the middle. He named Xiaoping's identity because of his acquaintance with Gao Peng. These women would make enemies for the Gao family if they knew what was wrong. At this time, it would not be a wise choice for the Gao family to provoke a promising Legion priest over trivial matters. Xiaoping has already inspected the scene. There are no supernatural factors involved. The Military Control Commission will not send other summoners to intervene in the subsequent investigation. The murderer has not left any clues. Our police station will try our best to follow up on the subsequent investigation. Can't we ask the Military Control Commission to find another summoner to investigate? Why should we ask that Xiaoping to come? Does the Military Control Commission only have one summoner? Gao Xian asked dissatisfied. That's right, what does this mean? Why did the Military Control Commission send such a person here? Does he want to see the jokes of our Gao family? Gao Yu also looked unhappy next to him. Two ladies, your family runs the Military Control Commission. Even if your father Gao Peng was still alive, he would not dare to make such a request to Tang Qiuaveng. Should the Military Control Commission investigate the trivial matters of your Gao family? Accommodate. The two sisters of the Gao family have been spoiled and pampered since they were young, and they have the temper of a young lady, which is really not ordinary stupidity. Director Su has fulfilled his responsibilities and is too lazy to talk anymore, and is ready to leave. Director Su, please wait a moment. He Miwen, who had been silent before, suddenly stopped Su Zheng. Mrs. Gao, is there anything else? Can that summoner secret method really lead to clues? I have never seen that kind of secret method, but I think the people sent by the Military Control Commission will not talk nonsense at this time. I can only say that if you are willing to try it, I am willing to help you persuade Mr. Xia to let him perform the secret method once. This may lead to some useful clues, which will facilitate the investigation. Since you are unwilling, forget it. Can we watch while he performs the secret technique? Mr. Xia said it's okay. He Miwen gritted her teeth and seemed to make up her mind. My husband collected 2 world beads during his lifetime. As long as it can help find the real murderer, I am willing to take out those 2 world beads and let him try them. Human life is at stake, at least I can give my husband and father-in-law an explanation. He Miwen, what do you mean? Gao Yu stared at He Miwen. Your brother, father, and uncle are all dead. Is it more important now to find the murderer or to worry about whether someone broke your man's leg? Do you think the summoner of the Military Control Commission can be sent if you want? Yes, besides, Mu Qingchen was competing openly in the ring with others, and Mu Qingchen had also injured others, and if he was injured, what's the big deal? Gao Yu was at a loss for words. Gao Xian, who was next to her, pulled her and winked at her, so she didn't speak. Director Su found that the daughter-in-law of the Gao family was somewhat courageous and responsible at this time, and at least she could clearly distinguish priorities. Director Su, please wait a moment. I'm going to get my husband's collection of boundary beads. It's in the villa next door. Okay. Seeing He Miwen leaving the living room, Gao Xian pulled Gao Yu to the tea house next to her. Sister, why did you pull me just now? That Xiaoping has a dispute with our family. Do we still want to give him boundary beads at this time? That person might just want to take advantage of the situation to defraud things, Gao Yu said reproachfully. 2 boundary beads are not worth much. It's not us who brought them out anyway. If Xiaoping'an has the ability to find clues to the murderer, that's all. If he collects the boundary beads and can't find any clues, we can just use this. Go to the Military Control Commission to sue him, saying that he deceived Jizu in our Gao family and made him infamous in Xingquan City, which can be considered revenge, Gao Xian replied. Gao Yu's expression changed, and he finally nodded. When he seemed to have thought of something, he suddenly lowered his voice, "Sister, tell me, that Xiaoping'an, could he be the murderer last night?" Gao Xian was startled, his face changed drastically, and he quickly looked out the door. "Don't talk nonsense, he just injured Mu Qingchen's leg, how could he be the murderer?" Gao Yu hesitated for a moment. "I heard Qing Chen say before that he wanted to make him look good, and Qing Chen would not let him go. I told my father about this before, and he told me to leave it alone. Now that something happened at home, I think, he couldn't have done it. What happened to Qing Chen? I don't know either. Dad and the others never let us attend meetings to discuss things." Gao Xian thought for a while. "Let's see if he can find any clues after taking the World Pearl. If he is the real murderer, he will definitely not dare to dig out what he did. Then we will see." "Okay, let's do it." Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 94. When Director Su brought the 2 boxes containing the boundary beads from downstairs to upstairs, and when he was on the edge of the balcony upstairs in the corridor, he heard Xiaoping'an and Guo Wei standing on the balcony chatting. The balcony on the 2nd floor faced the garden of the Gao family manor, where Xiaoping'an and Guo Wei were waiting for him. "That's what happened. That Mu Qingchen is a piece of trash. He had a grudge with the summoner of the Xianghe City Order Committee before, and he wanted to cause trouble for me, so he had his legs pulled by me in the ring that time." Interrupted, he went home to recuperate. Things in the world are unpredictable. Xiaoping'an sighed on the balcony. "Originally, I thought he would be more honest once I taught him a lesson, but I didn't expect that when we meet again, we will say goodbye forever. To be honest, I don't regret his death at all." "When you talk about this here, aren't you afraid that the Gao family will think you did it?" Guo Wei asked. "The grievances in the arena will be settled in the arena. For that matter, I won't let me risk so many lives." Xiaoping'an responded. Xiaoping'an did not lie. The grudges in the ring were settled in the ring. He did not take action for that reason. He took action because the Gao family and Mu Qingchen wanted his life. 1 yard for 1 yard, 1 yard for 1 yard, and 1 yard for revenge. One report. When he was downstairs just now, Director Su actually quietly had a thought in his mind, whether it was Xiaoping'an who did it. But after going upstairs, listening to Xiaoping'an talking about his grudge with Mu Qingchen, Director Su's heart, the little doubt I had was completely gone. Director Su also laughed at himself, thinking about it. When it comes to grievances, the grievances caused by any of the 7 people who died in the Gao family outside are much more serious than a battle in the ring. Not to mention anything else, there are hundreds of lawsuits and disputes caused by the Gao family's companies in the court. In the past 2 years, some people jumped from the building. In order to deal with these lawsuits, the Gao family has a team of lawyers. There are also many other grievances involving various business competitions, official conflicts, and relationships between men and women. As a summoner, Mu Qingchen also likes to show off. His enemies are not just Xiaoping'an, so there are too many suspects. With this thought in his mind, Director Su had already come to the balcony and handed the 2 boxes in his hand to Xiaoping'an. "Mr. Xia, these are the 2 boundary beads prepared by the Gao family. Please take a look." Xiaoping'an took the 2 boxes and opened the first one. He saw that the world bead in the box looked familiar. If he looked closely, he could see that it was carving a boat for a sword. Xiaoping'an almost laughed. This artifact, the summoning world pearl, was originally sold for 9 million in the Facebook club. Maybe it was bought by someone from the Gao family. Unexpectedly, it went around and fell into his hands again. Xiaopingyan closed the first box and opened the second box. The boundary bead in the box was an ordinary-looking divine power boundary bead. In the middle of the boundary bead, there was a 20-point shrinking divine power light group floating in it. There were also 4 divine texts, Guanzhong knows people. These 2 world beads are very expensive to ordinary people, but to the Gao family, they should be the cheapest 2 they can come up with. Okay, Xiaopingyan looked at the 2 world beads, nodded, and said seriously, has Director Su made it clear to the Gao family that if I successfully fuse these 2 world beads, there is nothing I can do about it? Return it to them. Of course, if my fusion fails and I die, it has nothing to do with them. Director Su nodded. Of course, Mr. Xia's ability to risk fusion with the world beads and use secret techniques to find clues is a great honor to the Gao family and me, Mr. Su. The Gao family will naturally not be so ignorant. Just now, the Gao family someone even told me that if Mr. Xia can find useful clues, the Gao family will be very grateful. To be honest, I had some conflicts with Mu Qingchen of the Gao family in the demon suppressing guard before. I didn't expect that the people of the Gao family would still understand the importance at this time and be willing to take out the world pearl. The expression on Director Su's face was a little strange. Ahem, these 2 world beads were taken out by Gao Tianxi's wife He Miwen. Now the Gao family is in a bit of chaos, and they don't agree on some things. The Gao family sisters are still very fond of Mr. Xia. Those who have opinions. I understand. Xiaopingyan put away the boundary bead. I will find a room here to fuse the boundary bead. No one can disturb me during this period. The length of time is not yet determined. If it is short, it may take an hour or 2, if it is long, it may take 7 or 8 hours. Please wait a moment, Director Su. It doesn't matter. You can just stay in the study on the 2nd floor. I'll wait here. Director Su hoped that Xiaopingyan could fuse the 2 world beads right away. The fusion world pearl is a bit dangerous. Do you want to inform the chairman about this? Guo Wei thought for a while and asked Xiaopingyan inquiringly. If something happened to Xiaopingyan's fusion world pearl, the 87th Legion had just been entrusted with the important task. The Legion priest went out with him to perform one mission and then disappeared. He was the sinner of the 87th Legion. If the summoner is afraid of the fused world beads, just like a fish is afraid of water, then he will not be able to survive. Don't worry, there are only 2 world beads. Summoning the world beads with this long sword is a bit risky. I will pay attention to it. Seeing that Xiaopingyan had made up his mind, Guo Wei could only nod his head. Then let me help you guard the door. The study on the 2nd floor was not far away. Xiaopingyan took the boundary beads and entered the study. The door of the study was closed, and Guo Wei and Director Su were waiting outside. Looking at this study, Xiaopingyan estimated that Mu Qingchen and the people of the Gao family would never have imagined that he could turn around the next day and fuse the boundary beads taken out by the Gao family's wife in the Gao family's study. The purpose was to looking for clues to their real murderer. Things in this world are so wonderful sometimes. Xiaopingyan took off his shoes, sat cross-legged on the sofa in the study, took out the first boundary bead of carving a boat and seeking a sword, turned the ring on his finger, exposed the silver needle, pricked his finger, and dripped on the boundary bead a drop of blood. The boundary pearl absorbed the blood and bloomed with cyan brilliance in the blink of an eye, wrapping Xiaopingyan's entire body into an egg-shaped cocoon of light. The sword fell into the water, the sword fell into the water. Xiaopingyan opened his eyes and heard someone shouting next to him. That voice was Chu Di's accent. He was sitting on the boat, which was crossing the river. Besides him, there were 7 or 8 people on the boat. Everyone looked at the river next to Xiaopingyan. The river was surging and bottomless. When Xiaopingyan looked over, he saw a sword in the rippling river, like a silver snake swaying in the water. When he saw it, the long sword had sunk several meters. Under the deep water, it swayed twice in the blink of an eye, then sank into the water and disappeared. The boatman looked at him helplessly, with an expression that said it was none of my business. Wow, that's a good sword, but it actually fell into the water. Now jump down and get it. I wonder if you can get it? Are you risking your life? Who dares to go down into such deep water? The people on the boat crossing the river were talking a lot, and everyone looked at Xiaopingan with sympathetic eyes. Swords of this era were luxury goods and expensive, and ordinary people could not afford them. In this case, there are many people who dare to jump into the river to retrieve the sword, such as those summoners who drowned. Xiaopingan sighed in his heart, and then he touched his body calmly, and sure enough he found a dagger. Then he used the dagger to carve a mark on the ship where the sword fell. Compared with the value of a sword, exchanging a sword for an opportunity to be famous throughout the ages and to alert future generations is what a slut should do. Sir, what do you mean? The boatman asked. This is the place where the sword fell into the water. I will carve a mark here. When the boat reaches shallow water, I will go down from the marked place to salvage it, Xiaopingan said seriously to the others on the boat. The people on the boat were stunned, and then burst into laughter. The world of Jizu is shattered. The first boundary bead, less than 10 minutes after closing his eyes, Xiaopingan opened them. His secret mandala added another 10 points of divine power, and also had an additional summoning slot for the long sword. For others, the long sword summoning world bead, with a mortality rate of 1 in 7, to Xiaopingan, was as simple as reading a newspaper and going to the toilet. Xiaopingan didn't wait too long, continued to open the second box, and took out the Guanzongji pearl. A moment later, Xiaopingan was once again surrounded by a cocoon of light. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 95. Xiaopingan opened his eyes and found that he was lying on the big bed. What he smelled in his nose was the strong smell of herbs. The big bed was in a luxurious house with brocade curtains and curtains, which was rich and luxurious. Beside the big bed, several beautiful maids stood beside the bed, blowing on the thick soup that had just been brought. Several waiters stood at the door of the room, glancing here with worried eyes from time to time. Ahem. After glancing around, his lungs twitched, Xiaopingan coughed violently. Several maids waiting in front of the bed hurriedly stepped forward, caressing their chests and patting their backs in a flurry. Master, please take medicine. A pretty maidservant knelt on the bed and raised the medicine bowl in her hand. Another maid held a silver spoon and blew it gently to test the temperature, hoping to make Xiaopingan take the medicine. Keep the medicine, you guys, please step back first. After the coughing stopped, Xiaopingan raised his hand and saw the age spots on his hand. He smiled bitterly, probably already understanding his current state in his mind. This was the time when Guanzhong was seriously ill in bed in his later years and would die soon. According to the urine properties of Jizu, Qi Honggong will probably arrive soon. Sure enough, as soon as the beautiful maid serving in front of the bed left, a man with official appearance hurriedly approached. Xiangguo, the king is here to see you. Hell me up. When the officials were helping Xiaopingan get up, Qi Honggong, who was wearing a purple robe and a long beard, had already strode into the house. Seeing Xiaopingan getting up from the bed, Qi Honggong hurriedly walked over, picked up the pillows and quilts on the bed, and he asked Xiaopingan to stay close and asked with concern, Father Zhong is feeling better. I'm afraid I won't be able to eat next year's new wheat. Xiaopingan gasped, and then looked at the man in front of him. This man was Qi Honggong, the leader of the 5 hegemons of the spring and autumn period. Legend has it that Duke Hong of Qi was fond of wearing purple clothes in his later years, and that was indeed the case. History is a joke. At this moment, Qi Honggong, wearing a purple robe, high-spirited and accomplished in his hegemony, is in awe of the princes of the world. Who would have thought that such an overlord would starve to death alive, and his body would not be beaten for 67 days? It was not until the maggots crawled out of the palace wall that people outside knew he was dead. A generation of overlords achieved their hegemony because of their employees, and died miserably because of their employees. Xiaopingyan was a little sad, and in his heart he admired Guanzhong's vision and talent. If Duke Huan of Qi had listened to Guanzhong, he would never be so miserable. Hearing Xiaopingyan say that he won't be able to eat next year's new wheat, Qi Hanggong's face suddenly became sad. He forced a smile and comforted him, "Father Zhong, don't say that. I have ordered to visit famous doctors all over the world. We will definitely find the holy hand and cure Father Zhong's illness. Your Majesty, don't comfort me anymore. Birth, old age, sickness, and death are all human beings. I can follow your Majesty to achieve the hegemony of Qi. I will have no regrets in my life. I don't have much time left. I don't know if I will be able to see you again when your Majesty comes next time, cough cough cough." Just after saying this, Xiaopingyan coughed again. Seeing the decoction beside the bed, Qi Hanggong quickly picked up the decoction and personally served Xiaopingyan to drink it. Seeing Guanzhong lying on the bed, Qi Hanggong couldn't help but feel sad when he thought about all the things he had done over the years. After taking the decoction, Xiaopingyan felt a little bit more comfortable in his lungs and stopped coughing. "I'm still awake now. If the king has any questions, you can still ask me. I can still make suggestions for the king." Hearing what Xiaopingyan said, Qi Hanggong sighed and waved gently. Everyone else in the room retreated. For a moment, Qi Hanggong and Xiaopingyan were the only two people in the room. Duke Hong of Qi came to see Guanzhong this time because he wanted to finally inquire about the major events behind Guanzhong's life. Father Zhong is right. Birth, old age, illness, and death are human nature. I will also have such a day in the future. I just don't know who Zongfu thinks can succeed Zongfu in Qi after Father Zhong passes away. 11 Peng can succeed me. 11 Peng is the great-grandson of Duke Zhuang and is very loyal to the king. After the meeting at Kuokaiu that year, 11 Peng also put down the chaos in the Jin dynasty and defended against the invaders of Rong and Di. The princes respect him, he is able to help the people, he has a long-term vision and is diligent in political affairs. If the state of Qi is entrusted to him, the king can rest assured. However, 11 Peng is old. If I leave, 11 Peng may not be able to assist the king for too long. Qi Hanggong pondered for a moment and nodded. If 11 Peng goes, I want Bao Xia to continue to take over the position of prime minister. What do you think, Father Zhong? Absolutely not. Xiaopingyan quickly stopped and sighed. Bao Xia is a gentleman. He is too clear-cut about good and evil, and too upright to be in politics. He has feelings for me and the king, and is a good man. Bao Xia can be an upright official, but not a prime minister. I have been the prime minister of Qi for 40 years. The reason why I have never reused him is because I know that if I reuse him, he will be jealous of him, but he does not know how to cater to the king and the people, and treat other ministers. He is too upright and does not know how to adapt. If Bao Xia becomes the prime minister of Qi, it will not be a good thing for him and the country of Qi. It would be great if Ning Qi was still here. Qi Hanggong also sighed. Well, it would be great if Ning Qi was here. Xiaopingyan also sighed. It's a pity that Ning Qi died earlier than Guanzhong. In the blink of an eye 40 years, Guan Hu helped Qi Hanggong achieve Qi's hegemony. 5 heroes of Huan are now either growing old or withering away. Duke Hong of Qi cheered up again. Since Father Zhong thinks that Bao Xia cannot be the prime minister of Qi, then I wonder if prescription can be the prime minister of Qi. If your Majesty still believes in me, please listen to my words now, and please immediately kill Kai Fang, Yi Ya, Shu Diao, and Chang's Haiwu. Qi Hanggong was shocked and his face changed. He had just wanted to ask Xiaopinggan whether these 4 people could be of great use and intended to promote and reuse these 4 people, but he did not expect that Xiaopinggan suggested that he kill these 4 people as soon as he opened his mouth. These 4 people are extremely loyal to me. Why did Father Zhong say this and let me kill them? If I kill them, wouldn't everyone in the world laugh at me and despise me for being ruthless and unrighteous? The hardest thing in the world to let go is the love between flesh and blood. Everyone cherishes their children. The king ate all the delicacies from the mountains and the sea and wanted to taste human flesh. Yi killed his own son and cooked it for the king to enjoy. He even had his own. How can you be loyal to the king if you can brutally kill your son? Qi Hanggong's expression changed. What about Xu Diao? Xu Diao did not hesitate to commit suicide in order to enter the palace and serve me. He cherishes me more than he cherishes himself. What wrong has he done to such a person to kill him? Tricky. Xiaopingyan actually wanted Qi Hanggong to call Xu Diao to show him what he looked like. I heard that Xu Diao was extremely handsome and a standard young man. In order to enter the palace, he could always be with Qi Huanggang. Duke Huan of Qi was worried that his hat would change color, so he went directly from the palace to the palace. This Xu Diao was the first person to practice the Sunflower Collection and Evil Sword Manual, the founder of Dongfangbubi. It is human nature to value one's own body. He doesn't care about his own body. Will he care about the king's body? Then what mistake did prescription make? He would rather give up his position as Crown Prince of Wei and come to serve me for 15 years. His parents passed away and he didn't go back to attend the funeral. Don't you trust him? Kaifang came to Qi State because Qi State is powerful and Wei State is small. Qi State is rich and Wei State is poor. He is serving the king in Qi State and is rich and prosperous. He is more comfortable and more honorable than when he is the prince in Wei State. Such a person is not even sad when his parents die, and abandons his family and country. Does your majesty expect him to be more filial to you than to his parents? These people who go against common sense and natural principles must be monsters, harboring evil intentions, and cannot be reused. Please, your majesty, kill them. Then what's wrong with Chang's witch? Chang's witch can stop people from dying and can cure my body's stubborn diseases, so why should I kill him? Life and death are destiny, and disease is also a disease of one's own body. Your Majesty has given your life and death to others to be controlled and decided by others. Couldn't you be aware of the danger? If Chang's Haiwu has other intentions, your Majesty will be in danger. These 4 people have followed me and served me for so many years. Why didn't Father Zhong tell me before, but now he asked me to kill them? I didn't say it before, I just kept them to relieve the king's boredom and make the king happy. If they were compared to floods, I would be a dam. If they were compared to beasts, I would be a cage. If I were here, they could not do anything for them. It is a disaster for the Qi state. Now the dikes will be destroyed and the cages will be rotten. Once the wild beasts are released, they will flood freely. It is a disaster for the Qi state and is harmful to the king. Please kill them. Qi Hanggong looked embarrassed and struggled, and finally sighed, if I kill them, what will the world think of me? That's all. At worst, I will expel the 4 of them from Linzi, and I will alienate them and never see them again. Hearing Qi Hanggong say this, Xiaopingyan was speechless. The inertia of history was too great, and Qi Hanggong's fate still could not be changed. Duke Hong of Qi now wants to expel those 4 people from Linzi, but just 3 years after Guanzhong's death, Duke Huan of Qi misses the feeling of those 4 people serving him, so he recruits those 4 best people again, and finally brings trouble to the state of Qi. There was chaos, and Qi Hanggong also died in the hands of those 4 people in great frustration. It is really sad that a generation of overlords died at the hands of Xiao Xiaodiao. In the study, Xiaopingyan opened his eyes. Looking at the time again, less than an hour had passed since the fusion of the 2 world beads was completed. Guanzhong's divine power sphere added another 15 points of divine power to Xiaopinggan, increasing Xiaopinggan's upper limit of divine power to 285 points. After the successful integration of the World Pearl, there was another portrait in the secret mandala of Guanzhong discussing adultery with Duke Huan of Qi on the sick bed. On the left side of the portrait, there is a scene of Duke Huan of Qi asking Guanzhong for advice in front of the sick bed. On the right, there is a scene of Qi Honggong trapped in a high wall and starved to death deep in the palace, his body rotting and infested with maggots, and no one cared about him. There are 8 characters in the portrait. If you use a virtuous person, you will dominate; if you are close to an evil person, you will die. These 8 characters really portray the life of Duke Huan of Qi. At the same time, the word Bian on the Golden Mountain was also lit up by this painting. The word sword on the carving boat in front was lit up. These 2 world beads are perfectly integrated, and Xiaopinggan is very satisfied. Seeing that it was still too early, walking out of the study at this time would easily make people outside think nonsense, so Xiaopinggan continued to sit cross-legged in the study, closing his eyes to rest. After almost another hour, he felt that it was almost the same, and Xiaopinggan just leave the study. As expected, Guo Wei and Director Su were still waiting outside, sitting on the sofa outside chatting. Seeing Xiaopinggan open the study door and come out, they both stood up. Director Su was shocked, and Guo Wei was relieved. He was really afraid that Xiaopinggan wouldn't be able to get out. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 96. Just now when Xiaopinggan was fusing the World Pearl inside, Guo Wei had already reported what happened here to Tang Qiaveng. Tang Qiaveng only had a brief understanding of the Gao family members who died here and the specific circumstances of the case. Instead, he was impressed by Xiaopinggan's ability to obtain 2 boundary beads so quickly and his claim that he could use secret methods to find clues. Tang Qiaveng said on the phone he said 3 words, "interesting," and at the same time told Guo Wei to ensure Xiaopinggan's safety. "Mr. Xia, can you use the secret method now?" Director Su came over and asked. "Okay," Xiaopinggan nodded. "Can we use instruments to record the situation when the secret technique is performed?" Director Su asked carefully. "You can only watch but not record the process of my secret technique. After I finish using my secret technique, you can use instruments to record it and see if you can find any clues." "Okay." Returning to the bloody conference room, Director Su called in several police officers responsible for the investigation and set up audio and video equipment in the conference room to prepare records. At the same time, the women from the Gao family came boldly. The corpses in the room were all covered with white cloths. Apart from the blood stains on the floor, they didn't look as scary as before. The 2 sisters Gao Xian and Gao Yu looked at Xiaopinggan with a somewhat unkind look. When they saw Xiaopinggan, they just snorted coldly. Instead, He Miwen, who provided the boundary beads, nodded lightly to Xiaopinggan, and the other 2 the daughters-in-law of the Gao family looked at Xiaopinggan with curiosity, because they had already heard of the name Xiaopinggan. The Gao family's boundary beads are not that easy to deceive. "If we can't find any clues, do you have to give us an explanation?" Gao Yu said with hostility as soon as he saw Xiaopinggan. When Gao Yu said this, Director Su's face darkened suddenly before Xiaopinggan opened his mouth. Just now he and Xiaopinggan patted their chests and said that there would be no problem in merging the world beads. What does this woman mean by this? Is it still possible? If Xiaopinggan returns the world pearl to them, what will happen to him? Ms. Gao, Mr. Xia is here to help because of official duties. Mr. Xia's willingness to use secret methods to find clues has already given me, Mr. Su, face. He does not have to be responsible to anyone. If you go to another place, You can take 2 realms. Zhu may not be able to invite a summoner like Mr. Xia to take action. Director Su couldn't help but said to Gao Yu with a cold face. My father just passed away, do you treat my Gao family like this? Gao Yu started to cry again and started sobbing. He looked at Director Su with dissatisfied eyes. When Director Su came to my Gao family as a guest, he didn't treat me like this. This attitude. When Gao Yu said this, Director Su's face turned darker, but he couldn't get angry. Gao Xian, who was next to him, quickly pulled Gao Yu, so Gao Yu stopped talking. I took out the G bead and it has nothing to do with you two sisters. He Miwen opened her mouth and smiled at Xia Pingan. Mr. Whether we find clues or not, we will still thank Mr. Xia. If Mr. Xia can find clues, I will also express my gratitude. The two sisters of the Gao family are simply too stupid. No wonder they cannot enter the inner circle of the Gao family. Compared with the Gao family sisters who were spoiled since childhood, the daughters-in-law of the Gao family are more measured, especially He Miwen. He is very scheming and starts to have a relationship with himself as soon as he opens his mouth. Xia Pingan didn't say anything more. He just nodded slightly to Director Su and He Miwen, then came to the table in the conference room, and the expression on his face became serious. Everyone knew that Xia Pingan was going to use the secret technique. They all held their breath and all eyes were fixed on Xia Pingan. To ordinary people, the group of summoners is mysterious and powerful. There are not many opportunities for ordinary people to see the summoners perform spells with their own eyes. What's more, the secret techniques used by Xia Pingan are incredible, and they can actually find clues to solve the case. For a moment, the police officers, Director Su, Guo Wei, and others in the conference room stared at Xia Pingan without blinking. Under everyone's gaze, Xia Pingan put his hands together, intertwined them, clasped them tightly, and then slowly pulled them apart. A white brilliance slowly extended from Xia Pingan's hands. In that brilliance is the pen-shaped jade all held by Kangja in the secret mandala. With the jade cone in his hand, Xia Pingan injected 6 points of divine power into the jade cone. The hand holding the jade cone opened and closed in the air, using the jade cone as a pen, and then the pen moved like a dragon or a snake. The jade cone passed through the air, and the brilliance of handwriting appeared in the air, like a word or a symbol. Everyone else in the conference room was stunned when they saw this magical scene. In just a few seconds, Xia Pingan directly used a jade cone to write a divine inscription with the word Han flashing in the void with golden light. Xia Pingan wrote the sacred text with the word Han in wild cursive. The word Han is exactly the writing on the golden mountain illuminated by the boundary bead of Han Yang pretends to be deaf. Compared with the small seal script on the boundary bead, the sacred script of the word Han scrawled out has changed beyond recognition and has a completely different style. No one except Xia Pingan knows what the word is. The divine inscriptions with traces were floating in the void. As Xia Pingan stretched out his hand, the inscriptions fell on the table, just like a drop of water falling into a water tank, and was absorbed by the table. The jade cone in Xia Pingan's hand also disappeared at the same time. Xia Pingan looked at Director Su. We can start recording. Director Su nodded slightly to the policeman next to him, and the audio and video equipment set up in the conference room began to work. Xia Pingan returned to everyone's side. For the first half-minute, the conference room was quiet, and there was nothing unusual. Even after the table was fused with the divine text, there was nothing unusual. The eyes of everyone in the room gradually became a little weird. That's it? What kind of secret breaking method is this? It's a lie, right? Just make a weird glowing symbol and put it on the table. Where are the clues? Can the table still talk? Gao Yu shouted directly. You guessed it, the table can talk, Xia Pingan said. What did you say? Gao Yu looked unhappy. But at this moment, the table in the conference room really started talking. Now that the entire Dian Kingdom has begun to implement military control, the situation in Yazhu province and Xingquan city may become worse and worse. The purpose of bringing everyone here for a meeting today is to discuss the Gao family's future plans. A slightly low and sinister man's voice came from the table, which echoed in the conference room. Upon hearing the voice, everyone in the Gao family changed their faces because everyone could tell that the voice belonged to the Gao family. The helmsman is Gao Peng. Director Su also recognized it. It was Gao Peng's voice. Gao Peng's body was still on the ground. It was not a fake corpse, and it didn't make any sound. The sound was from the huge sandalwood table in the conference room. The place where the sound came from was exactly where Gao Peng's body fell to the ground. Everyone in the entire conference room shivered as if they had seen a demon. A talking table. This is so weird. But everything is so real, everyone is here to hear and witness it with their own ears. We have been notified by the Order Committee before. The Order Committee warned that the Devil's Eye has been active recently and there may be a large-scale space invasion. I didn't expect that this would be the result. This is no longer a space invasion, but the Devil's Eye. The said Holy Spirit has come, the sky has really changed. This voice, coming from Gao Zhan's position, was a little bitter. Dad. Upon hearing this voice, Gao Xian and Gao Yu both shouted. There was a collapse in the mine before and 17 people died. Thanks to my father and Tianlin, this matter has been suppressed. Since it is such a mess now, no one will pursue this matter anymore. If there are still miners' families making trouble, the Military Control Commission will, if anyone wants to trace it, they can evade it by saying that the 7 people died on the night of the 15th, and the insurance company will be responsible for the accident compensation. This voice belongs to Gao Tianxi, who is in charge of the Gao family's coal mine business. There are a few other miners who are aware of it. Things in the mine are not easy to hide. If those miners who are aware of it also make trouble, it will be difficult for the mining bureau. This voice belongs to Gao Tianlin, and Gao Tianlin is deputy director of Xuanhuan Mining Bureau. It's just a few miners who died, it's not a big deal. Gao Tianxi's voice sounded coldly. If those miners who know about it are disobedient, let them go down the mine, and I will arrange another accident for them and deal with it once and for all. Just like that, the unscrupulous union representatives can just use the accident to solve the problem. This kind of thing is not that difficult. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 97. When the table made a sound, everyone in the conference room was shocked. Listening to that familiar voice, Director Su opened his mouth slightly and looked at Xiaopingan in shock. It was not that Director Su had never seen the summoner's secret method before, but the secret method Xiaopingan used in front of him impacted his understanding of the summoner. What kind of secret method was this that could actually make the table at the crime scene speak and turn the table into a magic weapon? It becomes a recorder. If the police station had this ability, wouldn't it be possible to easily find clues in many cases? This is really a wave of upheavals. The clues that Director Su originally expected to kill everyone in the Gao family have not yet come out. The Gao family officials and businessmen colluded to conceal the serious mining disaster, and even the clues that they had used accidents to kill people in the mines have been revealed. Out. The few police officers present who were responsible for recording and investigating were also dumbfounded. The conference room was eerily quiet for a few seconds. It's not true, this is not true. The 2 sisters of the Gao family all screamed at this time, and they were all panicked. Several of the daughters-in-law of the Gao family also turned pale and panicked. This is him, this is his trick, it's all his conspiracy, he is framing our Gao family. Gao Yu pointed at Xiaopingan and shouted angrily, Director Su, tell him to stop. The secret technique has been cast. I can't stop even if I want to. Now this table is repeating the sound in the conference room last night. Unless you dismantle the table will not stop. Xiaopingan looked at Director Su calmly, Director Su, I am only responsible for looking for clues. The specific clues found have nothing to do with me. Gao Yu picked up a water glass next to him and threw it at the sandalwood table in the conference room. The water glass shattered, but the sound from the sandalwood table still did not stop. Director Su glanced at the Gao sisters, who were still noisy with a livid face, and directly winked at the two policemen next to him. "Pull me out. Xiaopingan and Guo Wei are here on behalf of the Military Control Commission." Now the clues to the murder in the Jiajia mine are placed in front of Director Su. The perpetrators have been recruited by themselves. If Director Su had not said anything, he would have let the Gao sisters run wild here. Then his role as police chief is probably over. If there is anything going on at the Gao family's mine, just send the police to investigate. The table in the conference room was still making noise no matter what was happening in the conference room. At this time, things in the mine are just trivial matters. If you lose some money, just lose some money. It doesn't matter. I have received news from an old friend. The Doomsday Bunker in Dian Kingdom has been restarted. Our Gao family may not stay in Xingquan in the future. The city, those things that cannot be taken away can only be left behind. Gao Peng's voice continued to sound. "Father, we have been running the coal mine business for decades. It is the foundation of our Gao family. How can we just give up? If we don't have these businesses, we will be in the Doomsday Bunker. What will happen in the future?" Gao Tianxi's voice said somewhat anxiously. "Yes, how can you give up the tens of billions of wealth your family has accumulated?" This was Lu Haorong's voice. "Once the Great Yan Kingdom's Doomsday Bunker plan is launched, all the currency currently in circulation will gradually turn into waste paper. Do you think there is nothing needed in the Doomsday Bunker? You are wrong. All the Doomsday Bunkers of the Great Yan Kingdom are built underground. In the area with the richest resources, Doomsday Bunkers also need various resources and minerals if they want to persist. The resources and minerals in each Doomsday Bunker have not been mined yet. They belong to the country in name. As long as we can combine the resources and minerals we have now, the resources of the Doomsday Bunker have been replaced. No matter where we go, our Gao family will never be left behind. The Gao family will always be the Gao family." Gao Peng's voice rang firmly in the conference room. "Father, how can such resource replacement be completed?" Gao Tianxi asked. "Tianxi, don't worry, there are people who are more anxious than us. The tens of billions of wealth of our Gao family are nothing. Those families and people with hundreds of billions or trillions of wealth will be more anxious." Gao Peng sneered. "I have received news from the old leader. It won't be long before someone from above will push for a new bill. The new bill will approve resource replacement. We will hand over the resources we have now to the Military Control Commission and then replace them in the Doomsday Bunker. Resources, even if everyone retreats to the Doomsday Bunker, our Gao family will still be the best and will not fall. What if we don't return to the Doomsday Bunker? Then the resources of our Gao family still belong to our Gao family. No one can take them away. The day the Military Control Commission is disbanded is when our Gao family's things come back. No one can take them away." Ha ha ha. Everyone in the conference room laughed wildly and relaxedly. "I heard some servants outside say 2 days ago that today has changed, and those poor people can stand up. What a joke. The poor are still poor when they arrive at the Doomsday Bunker. The miners are still miners when they arrive at the bunker. You can only work for us and listen to us, ha ha." Gao Tianxiang laughed wildly. "So this is what I'm telling you. A family should try its best to climb up. As long as it climbs to a certain position, it will not be easy to fall down again. Even if it is the end of the world and everyone falls down, we can still step on other people's heads. Climb up." Gao Peng's deep and gloomy voice was inevitably a little complacent. In the conference room, Director Su was already sweating. He took out a handkerchief and quietly wiped the sweat on his forehead. When he just heard Gao Tianxi say that killing people in the mines, he thought it was a big deal, but compared with what the Gao family discussed later, it was not at the same level. Someone above wanted to promote the resource replacement bill, and they did it openly in the Doomsday Bunker. After the plan was launched, the stealing of the country was completed. These contents were so shocking that Director Su didn't know whether it was a crime or not. This was no longer something that he, a small police chief of Xinquan City, could intervene in. Director Su already regretted a little. If he had known that Xiaoping's secret method was so terrifying and could shake out so many things from a silent table, he would have just asked Xiaoping to leave. Now he is frightened by these words, and still I can only bite the bullet and continue listening here. In the conference room of the Gao family, only the voices of the dead could be heard at this time. The other living people were all silent, but their hearts were not at peace. Xiaoping listened expressionlessly. Guo Wei looked at Xiaoping, then at the corpses of the Gao family on the ground and the conference table where the noise was being made. His eyes were squinted, not knowing what he was thinking. The meeting in the Gao family has not ended yet, and the murderer has not come out yet, so it is still going on. A few seconds later, there was a faint muffled sound from the conference table. Ah, what's the noise outside? Why are the lights not working? There is a backup generator in the manor. Why is there still a power outage? Tianxiang, go out and see what's going on. Is it a space invasion? Okay. No, there are no divine power fluctuations outside. Mu Qingchen's voice, which had been silent until now, finally appeared. There was a sense of silence and depression in that voice. It's too dark here, please light the spare lamp first. Then there was the sound of the door opening. The gas station outside exploded for some reason. Someone may have stolen the oil. The machine room of the manor seems to have been affected. The power supply should be restored soon. Gao Tianxiang's voice sounded. Well, I'd better be more careful recently. Gao Zhou spoke, and his tone suddenly became serious. There are too many unexpected things happening during this period. Try not to make any mistakes. Qing Chen, when you recover from your injury, then you have to take action personally to end the matter. The two summoners of the East Lake Provincial Order Committee are outsiders after all. They cannot be allowed to live. You have to deal with them personally. The matter needs to be leaked. The murder of the summoners of the Order Committee. Being charged with the police is not fun, then it becomes a big problem. Father, don't worry, I will solve it. Mu Qingchen said gloomily, killing one is killing, killing two is killing, and even several policemen have been killed. Do you still care about them? I will kill them when they come back. They solved it, that person's cell phone signal has not appeared until today, they should have completed the task. Director Su almost went crazy. The Gao family actually murdered the police and the summoner. Damn it, what kind of luck did you have to encounter such a thing? But who is the summoner that the Gao family said they wanted to kill? The situation has been tense recently. It's not easy for Tang Qiuaveng to deal with the Military Control Commission. Don't deal with people from Devil's Eye in the future. Although the immortality liquid provided by Devil's Eye is good, it is too sensitive and cannot be exposed to light. It would be bad if the people with the Devil's Eyes knew that the buyer behind Xinquan was our Gao family and could easily be caught by them, Gao Peng said again. The magic liquid of agelessness is really good. I used it once and it felt really nostalgic. For half a year, my body felt like I was decades younger. Gao Ju sighed. Gao Ji actually has a deal with the people from Devil's Eye? Hearing this, Director Su's tense nerves suddenly relaxed completely. Damn it, I can't control this matter. Whoever wants to care should take care of it. A few seconds later. Bang. The sound of the window breaking came. Who is it? Mu Qingchen asked, followed by a scream. The sound of sharp knives cutting through the air and piercing the body, the muffled groans of the Gao family members before death, and the sound of chairs overturning could be heard in the room, but everything stopped in just 3 seconds. In the silence, only the subtle sound of dripping blood came, and then no human voice appeared again. After more than 10 minutes, even the sound of dripping blood stopped, and the table in the conference room became completely silent. The secret technique used by Xiaoping'an, the murderer, only appeared for a few seconds, only the sound of murder was heard, and there were no other clues. Instead, the Gao family's old background was revealed. The entire conference room was dead silent for 2 minutes before the voice of He Miwen, the daughter-in-law of the Gao family, sounded tremblingly, "Director Su, we don't know anything about what my father-in-law and husband were discussing. I remember the laws of Yan state, the summoner's spells and the awakened person's special abilities cannot be used as direct and effective legal evidence, right?" Director Su didn't know how to answer. "Director Su, I want to make a copy of the video and audio recordings you recorded and take them back to Chairman Tang." Guo Wei only said one sentence. Golden Summoner. Author, Zhihui. Chapter 98. When Xiaoping'an and Guo Wei left the Jiajia Manor, there were twice as many police cars parked outside the Jiajia Manor. A team of special police officers also arrived. What used to be a survey site has now become a search. Even if he was just pretending, Director Su could not be completely indifferent to what he saw and heard in the conference room. In addition to the Gao family manor, Director Su has sent a team of police to the Gao family mine to investigate and collect evidence. If some things in the mine can be confirmed, then it will be clear whether other things are true or false. The laws of the Great Yan Kingdom do stipulate that the magical abilities of summoners and awakened ones cannot be used as valid court evidence, such as the mind-reading ability of awakened people, but the laws of the Great Yan Kingdom do not stipulate the magical abilities of summoners and awakened ones. It cannot be used as an effective clue to solve the case. It's really hard to look at a wealthy family like the Gao family when you lift the lid. I didn't expect it to be so rotten, dirty, and unscrupulous. Guo Wei drove the car while quietly looking at Xiaoping'an, who was sitting in the passenger seat. A sense of awe for Xiaoping'an arose in my heart. The secret method of making the table talk was really shocking. No amount of tanks and artillery can match that kind of capability. Just such a small secret method almost completely destroyed the contacts and relationships that the Gao family had maintained in Yizhou province for decades, and plunged the Gao family into the abyss. This is something that tanks and cannons cannot do. There may have been people who felt sorry for what happened to the Gao family before and wanted to pursue it. Now, people related to the Gao family should be busy preparing to completely cut off from the Gao family. There were quite a few police officers in the conference room just now. Including Director Su, everything that happened in the conference room could not be kept secret at all, and it was estimated that it would soon spread throughout Yizhou province. Concealing the mining accident and killing people in the mine, these two things may not plunge the entire Gao family into the abyss, but murdering the summoner of the Order Committee and making a deal with the Devil's Eye, the last two of these four things, will definitely. It is a big taboo, any one of them can make the Gao family doomed. The Gao family has been completely dead in the officialdom of Yizhou province. No one wants to have anything to do with the Gao family anymore. But, what exactly was that thing that the Gao family was talking about in the conference room just now? Why did Mu Qingchen say, killing one is also killing two? It seems that there are other summoners involved in that incident with the Gao family, but I don't know who was involved. Guo Wei had doubts in his mind, but he didn't ask them again. These things may no longer be important. Until he left the Gao family, he felt that the facts about the Gao family today were too unbelievable. The two boundary beads before Xiaoping'an used the secret method were actually provided by the Gao family. The Gao family wanted to find the murderer, but they unexpectedly found him. Xiaoping'an, who was sitting in the car, also let out a long sigh. The affairs of the Gao family have only now been completely completed. Killing the person in charge of the Gao family does not mean destroying the Gao family. The secret method in the conference room was to completely destroy the Gao family. Where are we going now? Xiaopinggan took a long breath and looked away from the car. Go to the Legion's Logistics Special Equipment Department, Guo Wei replied. More than 40 minutes later, Guo Wei took Xiaopinggan to the Logistics Special Equipment Department. The Logistics Special Equipment Department is the abbreviation. The real full name here is the Special Equipment Management Department of the Logistics Equipment Department of the 87th Army. This is the place where various weird special items and equipment are provided to some special personnel of the 87th Army. The world beads obtained by the Army will also be collected here and handed over to the military headquarters. The Logistics Special Equipment Office is located in a small requisitioned airport in Xuanhuan City. The airport can take off and land small aircraft and helicopters. There is also a regiment of troops stationed next to the airport. After explaining the purpose of his visit, a major director of the Logistics Special Equipment Department simply handed 2 boxes, one large and one small, to Xiaopinggan. We have received the order from the Legion commander. Inside this big box are the 2 world beads. Inside the small box are the identity badges of the Legion priests of the 87th Legion. The uniforms of the Legion priests must be made after measurements. They can be made tomorrow. Thank you, Xiaopinggan nodded and took the 2 boxes. You're welcome. The Special Costume Department is happy to provide what our Legion priest needs. We have heard about the Requiem ceremony at the stadium in the morning. The brothers passed away peacefully and went to heaven one by one. The 87th Legion, my brothers, are very grateful to Priest Xia. If you need anything in the future, just come to me. A major director of the Special Costume Department said to Xiaopinggan sternly. I just did what I was supposed to do. Xiaopinggan also didn't expect that his Requiem ceremony in the gymnasium in the morning would spread throughout the 87th Army in such a short time, and he would be treated politely as soon as he arrived here. Today I have gained a lot. I just fused 2 world beads at the Gao family, but I didn't expect to get 2 more here. He obtained 4 world beads in one day, which set a new record for him in obtaining world beads. Is there anything else you need? The major from the Logistics Special Equipment Department asked thoughtfully. By the way, are there any handguns here? I lost my previous gun. I need a gun now, Xiaopinggan asked. Gun. The 2 officers looked at each other and both laughed. They actually asked the Army's Special Logistics Department if they had any guns. Isn't this the same as asking if there are trees in the forest or asking the Dragon King if there is water? Haha, we don't have much else here, just guns and stuff, that's enough. The major from the Logistics Special Equipment Department took Xiaopinggan directly to a warehouse and asked someone to open the door of the warehouse and enter inside. Holy shit! The warehouse is simply a special weapons and equipment warehouse, with all kinds of standard and non-standard firearms and equipment available, which makes people's eyes dizzy. Among those firearms, Xiaopinggan also saw the familiar figure of Manuan M. Let's have this, Xiaopinggan said to Major Yanja. The M here has a silver gun without an optical sight. It looks a lot simpler, but it is also more practical. This Manuan M has many fans in the Yan Kingdom. Although it is not a standard pistol issued by the army, the .50 Magnum bullet can be found in many places. By the way, this pistol needs to be specially made. Transformation. No need, just give me a few hundred more silver bullets. After leaving the Logistics Special Equipment Department, Guo Wei took Xiaopinggan back to the Xuanhuan City Gymnasium where the Requiem ceremony was held in the morning. The area around the gymnasium has been turned into a military camp, and the Legion headquarters and Legion hospital of the 87th Legion are nearby. The dormitory arranged by the 87th Legion for Xiaopinggan is in a newly requisitioned community near the gymnasium. The community is full of newly built townhouses. The houses have not yet completed the final decoration and delivery. Only doors and windows have been installed. Water and electricity were provided, and a small part of the decoration was completed, but it was all requisitioned by the army. Although the accommodation conditions are not that good, it is better than living in a tent. Moreover, it is close to the gymnasium and the military camp is right outside the door. All future requiem ceremonies will be held in the gymnasium, making it convenient to go to work. According to regulations, Xiaopinggan, as the Legion's priest, also assigned 2 guards to be responsible for Xiaopinggan's security and service. Guo Wei said that the security guards would be on duty tomorrow morning. After settling down Xiaopinggan, Guo Wei left. He still wanted to report to Tang Qiuaveng about the matters concerning the Gao family. Xiaopinggan finally relaxed after a busy day. It wasn't until after Guo Wei left that Xiaopinggan remembered that he hadn't eaten yet. After fusing 2 world beads and performing 2 initiations and body cuts at the Gao family, Xiaopinggan was already very hungry. Xiaopinggan searched around the house and only saw 3 large boxes of military cans in the simple kitchen, 1 box of fruits, 1 box of dried vegetables and 1 box of beef. After eating 3 cans and feeling full, Xiaopinggan finally had time to study what the G bead he had just received looked like. Returning to the bedroom where a camp bed and a sleeping bag were placed on the floor, Xiaopinggan opened the box containing the boundary beads that he received from the logistics department. There are 2 world beads in the box, 1 gray and 1 black, each shimmering with light. In the black boundary bead, light surges like turbulent waves. There are 2 divine inscriptions in the boundary bead that are rising and falling. Every second, divine inscriptions are emerging and disappearing. Take a closer look at the 2 divine inscriptions. This divine inscription contains 2 characters, Deu. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 99. Seeing this world bead, Xiaopinggan's spirit was shocked. He had seen information about this world bead before. This world bead is the most critical world bead for summoners to master water summoning spells. Water summoning spells, just like water, it is ever-changing, and the wonder of its use lies in one mind, and its foundation is this world pearl. The death rate of fusing this world bead is very low, but the success rate is very high. Therefore, this world bead is very popular among summoners and is one of the most popular world beads. It's just that since ancient times, there has been no record of perfect fusion of this Deu world pearl. Putting down the boundary bead, he picked up the gray boundary bead and looked at it. The look on Xiaopinggan's face made him wonder whether he should cry or laugh. The gray boundary bead was actually a turn-on attack. The one who summoned the slave soldiers has already fused himself. This betrayal strike world bead is no longer useful to him, so he can only keep it for later. After reading the boundary pearl, Xiaopinggan took the other smaller box and opened it. The box was opened, and inside was a solid gold badge in the shape of a 5-pointed star. The words 87th Legion are written below the pure gold badge. In the middle of the badge is a symbol of 2 crossed swords holding a requiem flag. This badge is the symbol of the priests of the 87th Legion. As long as it is worn, anyone who sees it will know that it is the Legion priest of the 87th Legion. I have experienced a lot today, and there should be nothing else to do now. Xiaopinggan thought for a while, and simply took out the boundary pearl that Deu used to control water, and started to fuse it. The thunder in the sky was like a dragon, piercing the sky, and the heavy rain was pouring down from the sky like rivers and lakes. As soon as Xiaopinggan opened his eyes, he found that he was standing on the top of a mountain, and his whole body was soaked. The world below the mountain, the country, is already a land of water, and as far as the eye can see, it is covered with rain and fog, and there is vast ocean and surging floods everywhere. Countless young Chinese people stood darkly behind him. From one hilltop to another, there were countless thousands of people, all with sad and desperate expressions on their faces. In addition to those Chinese youths, there were giants standing behind him. The expressions on the faces of those giants were also desperate. In addition to the giants, there are countless strange beasts controlled by people on the mountain. In that silence, there was some movement at the foot of the mountain. In the middle of the vast ocean, there was a man, standing on the back of a strange beast that looked like an ox and a dragon. He was not afraid of the vast ocean and cut through the waves. He crossed the water directly from a distance and came to the foot of the mountain. That person, the man, jumped off the strange beast in the water, held a jade token high above his head, and ran straight to the top of the mountain at a speed as fast as lightning. The crowd was in a commotion. Emperor Shun's envoy has arrived. Emperor Shun's envoy has arrived. The crowd screamed and looked at the visitor with awe. Wherever the man went, countless young men and giants standing behind Xiaopingan made way for him. The man rushed directly to where Xiaopingan was before stopping. "You, take the order." As soon as the man spoke, his voice was majestic and resounding like thunder, and all the dark crowds on the mountaintop and hillside knelt down. The giants also knelt down, and the strange beasts also knelt down one by one. Xiaopingan also knelt down. Your father, Chongbo Gun, spent 9 years controlling the floods, but it was all in vain. Today, embankments all over the country have collapsed, rivers are overflowing, the central plains has been transformed into a swamp country, and countless lives have been lost. Chongbo Gun's crime is unforgivable and has been punished by Emperor Shun. Yu Yishan, Emperor Shun ordered you to continue to control the water, and never let the world down again. You, take the order. Xiaopingan raised his hands and took the jade token. Emperor Shun's envoy then left, reached the foot of the mountain, stood on the strange beast that looked like an ox but was not a dragon, crossed the water, and disappeared into the vast Ze country. Although Emperor Shun's envoy has left, the flood control army on the mountain is in a state of gloom and mist. After 9 years of flood control, after a lot of hard work, the success fell short in the end. Many people looked at the vast expanse of land and felt a little desperate, wondering how this flood problem could be eliminated. Station Master Xiaopingan stood on the boulder on the top of the mountain, holding up the Emperor Shun's token in his hand, looking at the black crowd of flood control people, roaring with all his strength in the wind, rain, and thunder and lightning. 15 years, if you give me another 15 years, I will definitely be able to quell the floods in this world. I swear here today to the sky and the earth, if within 15 years, I cannot quell the floods in the world, I will commit suicide by hitting the mountain here to thank the people of the world. The master was silent among the crowd, and then someone roared, "Control the water. Conquer the water. Even if it means death, we must cure this water." Slowly, one voice turned into 10 voices, turned into hundreds of voices, and finally only one voice resounded throughout the mountains and plains, "Control the water." This sound completely drowned out the thunder in the sky. At this moment, a golden snake flew down from the sky, and was about to fall on Xiaopingan's head. However, a guard holding a giant axe next to Xiaopingan jumped up suddenly, and hit Xiaopingan with one axe in the sky. The golden snake split apart, and then the guard landed firmly on the ground. Everyone is not surprised. Xiaopingan swallowed a mouthful of saliva, suppressed the shock in his heart, and continued to speak loudly, "Our previous methods of controlling water were all wrong. We wanted to block the water, but think about it, this water can be blocked. Well, we have blocked it for 9 years, and it rains every year. If we block the water, the rain will fall more and more, and the more water we will block, just like the water in a bowl, the bowl will be full of water. You are still adding it, will it not overflow?" As soon as this simple truth was explained, everyone understood it. "If the water cannot be blocked, what should we do?" someone asked immediately. "I have observed in the past few years that all the terrain we have traveled on has become higher as we go west, and lower as we go east. There is a sea to the east, and water will flow from high places to low places. As long as we move by opening up rivers and mountains and allowing the water to flow to lower places and into the sea, flood problems can be completely solved. The golden snake danced wildly in the sky, but it could not cover up Xiaopinggan's voice. More and more people's eyes lit up and their expressions became determined. We must not only quell this flood so that our descendants will no longer suffer from floods, but we must also find ways to turn this water from harm to benefit and benefit the people. Water control. Xiaopinggan looked at the surging Ziguo at the foot of the mountain, but his mind was still flying beyond the sky. The world only knows that Dao controlled floods by turning blockages into dredges, allowing water to flow into the sea, and quelled the floods in China. Little did he know that Dao's flood control might not be so simple. Xiaopinggan studied history for many years in his previous life. After various research studies, he always had a bold guess in his mind. In the past, Dao led countless Chinese ancestors and capable people to accomplish great undertakings in the world when the global floods were flooding. In the land of China, Yu used the heaven and the earth as his dojo, and the mountains and lakes as his chess pieces. He used the power of changing the sky and the earth, and used the surging floods to set up a peerless feng shui formation to protect the descendants of China from generation to generation. Dao opened Hung's Lake as Suzaku, Tehu Lake as Xuanhuan, Dongting Lake as Qinglong, and Paniang Lake as White Tiger. He turned the 4 great lakes into 4 sacred beasts. He used the feng shui formation of the 4 sacred beasts and the Juding to protect China. People who integrate this world bead may be able to divert water into the sea and quell floods, but they will never be able to reproduce Dao's true generosity that was hidden back then. This is why no one has ever been able to perfectly integrate this world bead. Reason. If my previous guesses and research were correct, then to control the floods according to that idea, in addition to diverting the water into the sea, I would also lay out the feng shui formations of Green Dragon, White Tiger, Suzaku, and Xuanhuan on the 4 major lakes in China to turn the flood hazard into a hazard. For the sake of profit, we must reach Kyushu, and only then can we get the result of the true perfect integration of this world pearl. The legend of the Great Flood in human history is by no means just a legend. The story of Dao's flood control is by no means a story, and many myths are not myths. Time flies so fast. After Xiaopinggan became the Legion Priest of the 87th Legion, more than 2 months passed quickly. In the past 2 months, several major events have occurred in Yizhou province. One is the Gao family's scandal. The Gao family's minerals, companies, and other assets were directly confiscated and taken over by the Yizhou Provincial Military Control Commission. In Yizhou province it caused quite a stir inside. The Gao family, which was once famous in Yizhou province, came to an end after the strange murder case that the Gao family encountered. The entire family disappeared and fell into pieces in just a few days. In this tense situation, the experiences of the Gao family, except for some gossips, were quickly forgotten, because in the torrent of this era, more important things came one after another, making people overwhelmed. The affairs of the Gao family can at best be regarded as a small splash in Dian's country. The second thing that happened in Yizhou province was that 2 more permanent space cracks were added in the Qianlong Mountains. One of the space cracks is still in the underground cave of the Qianlong Mountains. The situation inside and outside Yizhou province, as well as at home and abroad in Dian Kingdom, has not only not improved at all in just 2 months, but has also rapidly deteriorated. The rapidly deteriorating situation has caused governments and military forces of various countries to completely overwhelmed. The situation in various places has become increasingly difficult to control. In Asia, as an island country, Japan's space invasion has been completely out of control. Japan has already seen a wave of refugees from all its citizens. All ships and planes leaving Japan are filled with fleeing people. In Africa, countless magic fire spiders and magic liquid spiders rushed out of the Sahara Desert. The situation in more and more African countries was completely out of control and began to be in a state of anarchy. In Europe, the tide of demons in the British Isles surged again. On September 27, because the situation in Paris was out of control, French government agencies had to withdraw from Paris and prepare to move to the Doomsday Bunker in France. Because the evacuation operation was leaked, the evacuation of French government agencies and personnel from Paris was blocked by Paris protesters. Millions of angry Paris citizens poured into the highways and airports, causing all airports and highways in and out of Paris to be paralyzed. In the end, a fierce conflict broke out with the French police force maintaining order in Paris, leading to tragedy. The conflict caused thousands of casualties. There is also a frightening rumor circulating around the world. The rumor says that on the night of August 15, when Russian cities were attacked by fire meteorites, the Russian military had brazenly attacked the space cracks over the Eurasian continent. Several missiles carrying hydrogen bomb warheads were launched. The hydrogen bomb launched by Russia detonated the moment it entered the space rift, but it seemed to have no effect. This news, whether true or false, is still frightening. In various parts of Nanguangzhou, because the zombie virus brought by the demon rats began to break out, millions of refugees from various countries broke through the border control of the Yan Kingdom and all flooded into the Yan Kingdom to avoid disasters and space invasions. In Yizhou province, more and more invasive creatures are coming out of the Qianlong Mountains, and they are not stopping in all parts of Yizhou. In addition, the number of sudden space invasions is increasing, and the number of invasive creatures inside and outside Xinquan City is increasing. The sound of gunfire has started to sound fiercely again since the beginning of September. In the two permanent space cracks located in Xinquan City, more and more invasive creatures are rushing out of the space cracks every day. The pressure on the 87th Legion is increasing. The water supply and power supply in Xinquan City gradually became tense. Power outages began to occur frequently in urban areas, and long queues began to form at water supply places. Even if military control is implemented, panic buying continues to break out in Xinquan City, and the security situation becomes increasingly severe. New recruits are being trained intensively, militia groups have also been established, more and more people are holding guns on the streets, and gun control has been further relaxed. As long as they are citizens of Dian country, who have paid extraordinary taxes in the past and have no criminal record, they can already self-defense weapons such as shotguns, rifles, and pistols can be purchased at gun stores opened by the military. The city is becoming more and more dangerous, and supplies in the city are becoming increasingly scarce. Under such circumstances, many residents who originally lived in the city, with the tacit approval and support of the Military Control Commission, have left Xinquan City in large numbers. Driving an off-road RV or pickup truck, carrying seeds, food, wilderness survival tools and shotguns, to take refuge in those sparsely populated places. The country of Dian is vast and sparsely populated. At this time, leaving the city has become a wise choice for many people. Mo Yanshao, Tupolu, Cao Xinghua and Lu Na were recruited into the Yizhou Demon Guard and transferred to Xinquan. They only briefly met Xiaoping'an before they began to carry out the tasks assigned by the 87th Legion, and cooperated with the military together with the special forces. They went to the Qianlong Mountains to exterminate the invading creatures. Xiaoping'an, who became the priest of the 87th Legion, did not have an easy time in this position. Starting from late August, he hosted requiem ceremonies more and more frequently. By mid-September, it finally became every 2 days. Held once. Why is it held every 2 days? Because as the fighting becomes more and more intense, more and more soldiers are sacrificed. The hospitals and funeral parlors in the entire Xinquan city can only hold the remains of the sacrificed soldiers in the morgues. As long as it lasts more than 2 days, if there is no room in the morgue, a requiem ceremony must be performed and the body cremated. Otherwise, the new body will rot because there is no room to park it. Under such circumstances, Xiaoping'an's divine power was consumed very quickly. He spent at least 32 points of divine power each time to requiem at least hundreds of sacrificed legion soldiers. After Xiaoping'an's divine power was completely exhausted, he could only rely on the first-level divine power pills brought by the Legion to perform the Requiem ritual. As more and more Requiem ceremonies were held for Xiaopinggan, Xiaopinggan's name finally spread throughout Yizhou province in just a month or two. Almost everyone in Yizhou province knows that the 87th Legion has a Legion priest named Xiaopinggan. The Requiem ceremony is very powerful and has extraordinary effects. Every time Xiaopinggan performs the Requiem ceremony, many soldiers from the 87th Legion will come to the stadium to bid farewell to their comrades with Xiaopinggan. Every time Xiaopinggan performs the Requiem ceremony, the people present will feel shocked from the depths of their hearts. The heroic spirit of the sacrificed warrior seems to really be able to enter the kingdom of heaven during his Requiem ceremony. In the eyes of the 87th Legion soldiers, Xiaopinggan has become the most powerful and respected summoner in Yizhou province. Xiaopinggan is the guardian of the 87th Legion soldiers. Because of the rapid deterioration of the situation, all parties have accelerated their actions. On the evening of October 26, Xiaopinggan received news that his sister Xiaoning had entered the first batch of priority evacuation lists in Xianghe City and would be evacuated from Xianghe City on the evening of the 27th and enter the Doomsday Bunker codenamed Tianxiao. In the previous 2 days, the first batch of people who entered the Doomsday Bunker in Xuanhuan City had evacuated. On the 27th, Xiaopinggan took time to return to Xianghe from Xuanhuan City to bid farewell to Xiaoning. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 100. On the evening of October 27, Xianghe Airport. Kunpeng, a large military transport aircraft from the Great Yan Dynasty painted gray, was parked on the apron, ready to take off. Kunpeng is the largest transport aircraft in the world. It is one of the largest transport aircrafts in the world. When viewed from the ground, Kunpeng is as high as a 6-story building. Its 88-meter-long fuselage is several meters longer than the fuselage. The wings covered the entire apron and the grass surrounding the apron. For military use, Kunpeng can airdrop a regiment of soldiers at a time. In the entire Xianghe City, there are about 1,800 people who have been evacuated with Xiaoning tonight. Everyone is boarding the plane one after another with salutes from Kunpeng's open tail cabin. Many people are saying goodbye to their relatives here. When boarding the plane, each person can carry no more than 50 kilograms. Xiaoning hugged Xiaopinggan and burst into tears. Among the more than 1,800 people, there are officials, rich people, some scientists and researchers, military families. The identity of the people boarding the plane was very complicated. Xiaopinggan didn't know many faces. He just remembered a few faces that often appeared on TV and media in Xianghe City. At this moment, those faces were also mixed in the crowd, some panicked and uncomfortable. She reluctantly boarded the plane. At this time, how to get the tickets to enter the Doomsday Bunker, everyone can only show their talents. Xiaopinggan can only control Xiaoning now. As for others, he can't control that much for the time being. Xiaopinggan gently touched Xiaoning's head and glanced at the sky. The moon came out, and it was still a blood moon. The whole sky was a strange dark red. In Xianghe City, there was a faint sound of roaring explosions of artillery shells. Around the airport, there are soldiers stationed there. When you get there, take care of yourself and don't worry about me, you know, Xiaopinggan told Xiaoning. Xiaoning raised her eyes that were red and swollen from crying. Brother, I understand, when will you come to me? I'm a summoner. You can go anytime if you want, and I also have the ability to protect myself. Xiaopinggan smiled. It's just that I can't live without you now. By the way, you bought the things I asked you to buy before. What? I bought 30 kilograms and some jewelry, which are in the suitcase, Xiaoning said softly. The thing Xiaoning was talking about was gold. After Xiaopinggan gave him 10 million last time, before the big change, as early as July, Xiaopinggan asked her to use the money to buy 30 kilograms of gold and some gold jewelry early. As ordinary people, buying gold in troubled times is an eternal truth. Sure enough, by August, gold was no longer easy to buy in gold stores everywhere, and the prices of various gold jewelry and gold luxury goods also skyrocketed. After August 15, when everyone came out of the shelter, all the gold on the market in various places was no longer visible. Bank withdrawals and banknote transactions were restricted by the Military Control Commission. The black market was rampant in various cities, and people began to use precious metals and trade by barter. The plane will take off in 5 minutes, please everyone board the plane as soon as possible. A soldier came out from the tail of the Kunpeng transport plane, holding a loudspeaker and shouted to the people saying goodbye on the tarmac. Go. Xiaopinggan suppressed his sadness, tried not to let his tears flow out, and patted Xiaoning gently. Brother, Tianshao City, do you remember it? Xiaoning asked crying. I remember, Xiaopinggan nodded. Tianshao City is the code name of the doomsday bunker that Xiaoning is going to. Xiaopinggan doesn't know where it is specifically. Brother, I'll wait for you in Tianshao City. You must come and don't lie to me. Xiaoning, wearing a thick down jacket and carrying a large suitcase, walked to the end of the cabin with 3 steps, turned around with tears in her eyes and waved to Xiaopinggan, and finally got on the plane. 5 minutes later, Xiaopinggan had to leave the apron and return to the VIP room near the apron. Through the glass, he watched the huge plane on the apron slowly enter the runway from the apron, and after a long taxiing after that, he jumped into the bloody sky and disappeared bit by bit. Don't worry, Xiaoning has grown up. She will take care of herself. She has learned a lot of skills at the base these days. Enqing comforted from the side. Xiaopinggan hadn't seen Enqing for several months. Today, he took time to return to Xianghe City to say goodbye to Xiaoning, only to see Enqing again. Compared with a few months ago, Enqing's temperament is still so sunny and beautiful, and has not changed at all. What has changed is that the clothes Enqing is wearing have changed into the black combat uniform of the summoner. At the same time, Enqing's hair has been cut short, and her whole body looks crisp and clean. When will you return to Xingquan? It was Li Yunzhou who asked. Li Yunzhou also came with Xiaopinggan to see Xiaoning off. Li Yunzhou's arm was comminuted and severely injured. Until now, he is still not fully recovered, but the situation was tense and he, a semi-wounded soldier, had to go out to perform the mission. I'm going back tonight, and there will be a requiem ceremony tomorrow. Xiaopinggan replied. I feel like the past few months have been like a dream. How come you have become the Legion priest of the 87th Legion in the blink of an eye? Now even people in Xianghe City know that the requiem ceremony held by the Legion priest of the 87th Legion is extremely effective. Li Yunzhou felt a little bit with emotion. Everything has been changing in the past few months, but the one that has changed the most is actually Xiaopinggan. Half a year ago, Xiaopinggan was still a rookie. Unexpectedly, in less than half a year, Xiaopinggan has grown to this point. Now, Li Yunzhou can no longer see the depth of Xiaopinggan's strength. He only feels that Xiaopinggan seems to be better than he left Xingquan. Before the demon suppressing guard, he had become much stronger. Looking at the badge of the Legion priest hanging on Xiaopinggan's chest, Li Yunzhou found that he couldn't even be jealous of Xiaopinggan. This guy, who looked ordinary and harmless, was actually a monster. Enqing glanced at Li Yunzhou from the side and suddenly said, I remember someone said that if Xiaopinggan could perfectly integrate the altar world beads, someone would have to lick the solace of his shoes and call someone else's master. Li Yunzhou suddenly coughed with guilt. In fact, he also doubted that Xiaopinggan's fusion of the altar world beads was perfect. Otherwise, Xiaopinggan's requiem banner would not be so powerful. The vision was amazing. It was probably because Xiaopinggan wanted to take care of his face. That's why I didn't embarrass him. Li Yunzhou quickly changed the subject. Ahem, by the way, Lao Zhou has already modified your pickup truck for you, and it is parked in the underground parking lot of the base. You can drive the pickup truck away this time when you get back, Lao Jojo has said this many times. Not talking about the pickup truck, Xiaopinggan almost forgot that he also bought a second-hand pickup truck. It was just that the second-hand pickup truck was picked up and modified by Lao Zhou after only 2 days of driving after he bought it. Then he was transferred to Demon Suppressing Guard. I haven't had a chance to see it again in the past few months. It just so happened that today he came to Xianghe on a military plane carrying goods from the 87th Army Corps. He could drive his pickup truck back to Xuanhuan in a while. Okay, Xiaopinggan nodded. Then let's go back to the base first. When the 3 people walked out of the airport, the soldiers stationed outside the airport saw the badge of the Legion priest hanging on Xiaopinggan's chest. They quickly stood at attention and saluted, and watched with respectful eyes as Xiaopinggan got into the car and left the airport. More than 40 minutes later, Xiaopinggan revisited his old place and returned to the base of the Xianghe City Order Committee. He saw his pickup truck again, but the pickup truck had changed beyond recognition. Even Xiaopinggan couldn't help coming. The pickup truck that Xiaopinggan drove before was a 4-wheel drive vehicle, but the pickup truck placed in front of him now turned into a 6-wheel drive vehicle with 6 wheels. Just this change made it completely unrecognizable. The shape of the entire car has also been completely transformed, becoming more angular and powerful. The 4 exhaust pipes are like 4 fangs. On both sides of the roof, the entire car looks like a black beast. Xiaopinggan walked to the pickup truck and knocked on the pickup truck's cabin guard panel with his hand. He found that the pickup truck's body material had turned into high-strength supercarbon fiber material. Xiaopinggan used to repair cars, and he was very familiar with these materials. Because the supercarbon fiber is expensive, it is usually only used in super sports cars. It not only reduces the weight of the car body, but also provides super strong protection for the vehicle. Not to mention anything else, just the supercarbon fiber material used in this car is worth many times more than his previous second-hand pickup truck. That's not all, the black carbon fiber car is also covered with a layer of black composite explosion-proof armor, and the explosion-proof armor also has a bulletproof coating. Just looking at the appearance of the car is already stunning. Opening a car door, the door was extremely thick, and the window glass was thicker than Xiaopinggan's fist, with 6 layers of bulletproof glass. The inside of the car was completely different from what Xiaopinggan saw. Uncle Joe, how much did it cost to modify this car? Xiaopinggan turned his head and looked at the old man next to him and asked. It didn't cost much. The total modification materials are more than 5 million. Lao Zhou said calmly, the chassis, engine, gearbox, run-proof tires, suspension, seat equipment, and body appearance in the car, everything can be repaid. After changing it, the frame of this car is not bad. I changed it and it worked fine. I closed the rear compartment and made a removable roof, which is safer, and I also used part of the rear compartment. A larger auxiliary fuel tank was added to the space, and the space in the rear compartment was reduced a bit, but after adding the auxiliary fuel tank, it can run 1,400 kilometers with one full tank. Xiaopinggan scratched his head, a little embarrassed. The modification materials that Lao Zhou mentioned were more than 5 million. That was definitely the cost price of the materials, and it did not include the cost of manual technology. Uncle Joe, I don't have that much money now. I still have a world bead here. How about I give you that world bead to pay off your debt first? Lao Zhou glanced at Xiaopinggan. What do I need the Jizu for? Just your Legion priest. The modification cost of this car is paid by the order committee. It is considered your equipment cost. Director Mo approved it a few months ago. Don't worry, if you want to thank me, when I leave one day, you can also perform a requiem ceremony for me. Even if you thank me, I put some weapons in the storage box in the back compartment that you may need. Something like that.